My name is Andy Colazzo, and this is our story. Last year, we encountered probably one of our biggest, I would say, tests. In my part, I know it was tough because for a long time, I always wanted to have a son. I always had the name Josiah, and I picked that name a long time ago, just trusting the Lord, that one day I would have my son. And last year, we found out that we were having a boy, and it was going great in the beginning. And then about, I want to say 5 months, we didn't just find out the gender, we also found out that the baby had an omphalocele, which is when the abdominal wall doesn't completely close. So there was going to be issues with his organs, stuff like that. And we were praying that we didn't have to deal with any of that. And I remember the first thing we did was call Pastor William, and he just so clearly, with the wisdom straight from heaven, he looked at us and he said, you know what, don't stop praying. And he's like, but you got to prepare yourself, because there's 3 things that you got to understand. When you pray for something, you're always going to pray for what you want. And out of those, there's going to be 2 more, and it's what God wants. And the 3rd thing is that you got to be okay with it. And I remember just those words just repeating in my head. And he said, you can have all the wishful thinking you want. You can ask for whatever you want, and God's going to listen. But at the end of the day, you just have to trust in what he chooses. And he laid it out so clear for us, and he said, God's going to make you and put you through a situation, and he'll get you through it. And I remember us sitting right there with him, and we just prayed. And I told God from my heart, and my wife told God from her heart, that whatever he chose, we were going to be fine with.
It doesn't matter what we go through, small. We know that it doesn't matter, because God, showed us so much that no matter what we go through, we get through it.
About 2 days after our baby shower, we noticed, and my wife obviously noticed, that she wasn't feeling any movements in her belly. So we rushed to the hospital. We got to the hospital, and from what you would think, you would just say the baby wasn't moving. And the doctors came in. One nurse came in first. She just nodded and shook her head, and she just walked away. She couldn't even tell us anything. Another nurse came in, same thing, until they finally called the doctor in. And doctor walks in, and he's like, I'm sorry. And just by him saying that, we knew exactly what he meant. And we sat there, and all we could do was, in the moment of our cry, we actually just prayed. And we told God, well, here it is, the decision that we made months ago to trust you. It was time to show that and prove it. That we had the funeral service. My family was there, and I was able to preach the gospel to my family, in which 3 people came up and actually accepted Christ. One of them being my father-in-law, which was a big blessing. And another one was one of my cousins came up and asked for prayer because her son and his wife were going through a situation in their pregnancy. And from there forward, man, just how God allowed us and keeps using us to encourage other people has shown us exactly what God had planned, and we couldn't have asked for a better way. And he didn't finish there. 2 months after that, we found out that my wife was pregnant again. And we found out months after it was going to be a precious baby girl. So now we have 2 girls. And she's a splitting image of her brother, which is pretty awesome in itself too. And I thank God so much, because she's beautiful.
She makes me happy. Looking at her, I can see him. So it makes me feel okay.